Hello and welcome to Smaulgld's Russian Central Bank's gold reserve position as of April 2017. Russian holdings of U.S. Treasuries surge to 28-month high. Central Bank of Russia boosts overall reserves past 400 billion in April. Now the Central Bank of Russia is adding gold and U.S. Treasuries. In April, the Central Bank of Russia added another 200,000 ounces or 6.22 tons of gold to reserves. Russian holdings of U.S. Treasuries now approach 100 billion, the highest since November 2014. Is this a Trump effect? And the Russian Central Bank's holdings are now at 1,686 tons at the end of April, making them the sixth largest gold holding nation on Earth. Overall Russian reserves were up about from 397.9 billion to over nearly 401 billion in April. We're going to go through some charts here, and this podcast will show the stories that we've been hearing about dollar collapse, dumping treasuries, is starting to turn out not to be true. We've had significant increases in the buying of U.S. Treasuries since Donald Trump was elected, although in Mexico they're down. But China has also started to add back U.S. Treasuries. So let's take a look at some of these charts and see at least what Russia is up to. On Monday, I will have a report on what China has been up to, and both Russia and China are heading back towards the purchase of U.S. Treasuries. We'll take a look at that. Before we get started, please consider donating to Smaulgld via PayPal or becoming a patron on Patreon. The links are all below. Or donating Bitcoin. And I see a notice here, warning, due to extreme network congestion, we recommend using a higher fee. So Coinbase is not happy that I'm only asking for very small amounts of Bitcoin because these small transactions supposedly clog their network. So if you want to help out Coinbase and Smaulgld, send more Bitcoin than the recommended 0.0250 Bitcoin. All right, let's check out the Russian gold and overall reserve position. So the Russians added about 208 tons of gold to reserves in 2015, and then about another 200 tons in 2016. And they ended 2016 with 1,614 tons. This year, the Central Bank of Russia has added 1 million ounces of gold just in March and April, and 2.3 million ounces overall in 2017. So Russia has added 200,000 ounces in April, 800,000 in March, 300,000 in February, and 1 million ounces in January, totaling the 2.3 million ounces. Here's a chart where you can see. Remember, you want to see the charts, go to smaulgld.com. Link is below. You can see the charts a lot better. So here it is from June 2015 to April 2017, an inexorable climb from 1,281 tons all the way up to 1,687. That's almost 450 tons of gold added in a very short period of time. If you want to add gold to your own stack, you can do so through the links below or through the Smaulgld site. You can compare pricing and shipping at BGSC, Golden Eagle Coins, SD Bullion, Muddy Metals Exchange, and you can buy your gold there, and Smaulgld makes a small commission. Not investment advice, but if you want to add to your stack or just start one, you can do so at the links below. Here is a chart now showing Russian monthly gold purchases. You can see occasionally they don't add any, but for the most part, they've been adding tremendous amounts of gold to their reserves. And Russia has added about almost 20 million ounces or over 600 tons since June 2014. Another very interesting chart. Now, when you compare Russia to China, Russia's been adding gold at a much faster pace than China, who, by the way, the People's Bank of China has not added any gold to reserves since late last year. So none in 2017 and none the last couple of months of 2016. So I've stopped keeping this chart. Russia was adding more gold every month than China by a large margin, but now it's not even worth comparing because the People's Bank of China is not adding any gold. One way that Russia adds gold, it's very clever, is they are the second or third largest gold mining production country in the world, and basically they add most of the gold that they mine domestically straight to their reserves, turning those rubles into gold, but then they also sell a bit of their gold, their excess gold, to China. So here's where Russia ends up in the league tables. In the top 10, Russia is knocking on China's door. They keep up at this pace within a year, they should be ahead of China if China doesn't start picking up its gold purchases. Russia is at 1,687 tons, and they're moving closer to 5th place. China. Now, overall reserves, this is the big story. Now, Russia had issues the last couple of years when there were sanctions put on them. The oil price had crashed, and they had to sell a lot of reserves just to protect the ruble. But the Central Bank of Russia has grown its reserves since January 2016, about $30 billion. It's up about 8%. And we have a chart here that'll show you how they've grown their reserves. These are the currency reserves, and these are the overall reserves. Most of the reserves are in currency, and then the rest mostly in gold. But let's take a look at the Treasury position. Now, the Russian Treasury Bank has increased its Treasury reserve holdings since selling off a good portion of them in the summer of 2015. As of March, now that's the last date we have, the U.S. Treasury reports on a delay, so we just got March this past week. We'll get April next month. But Russia now holds $99.8 billion in U.S. Treasuries. Now that's down from $131.8 billion in January 2014, but it's up significantly from $66.5 billion in April of 2015. And there you can see the big surge in March. And remember, the number I showed you above for overall reserves was for April, so I would expect to see at least this level in when the April numbers come out next month, and possibly even over 100 billion. But let's really take a look at the significance of this in a longer term chart. There you can see that Russian holdings of US Treasuries are now at a 28-month high. So this dispels the myth that countries are dumping the treasuries and dumping the dollar and it's game over. Let's not be so sure of that. And once that thought gets wedged in people's head, I mean, you could see treasuries increasing, and people will still be citing that narrative. I had predicted this back a couple of months ago that Donald Trump may had spoken to the Chinese premier as part and parcel of working with China and not labeling them a currency manipulator. That maybe they step up their U.S. Treasury purchases. Maybe same thing here with Russia. So don't count the dollar out. Nothing is written in stone, just like silver doesn't have to go to $600. There are certain things that you have to look at the facts. And now you could say the facts aren't true, they're lying. Okay, what's your belief other than a belief that you want to believe, or somebody you've heard has yelled and screamed on the internet that it's true? I'm just saying, let's look at where things are and challenge even this. You're right, these numbers, maybe they're wrong, but there's nothing written in stone that says the dollar collapses. We've heard people say it's going to collapse in 1998, it's going to collapse in 2006, it's going to collapse in 2014. Dollar's going to go to gold is going to go to 50,000. Again, question these narratives just because they're repeated, they're screamed and yelled, and everyone else agrees that they're true, even though we don't see evidence of it. So there you have it. That is what Russia is holding in U.S. Treasuries. Those numbers are indeed high. And we're going to see on Monday, China's are moving up too. So, and the same thing with China. People have it in their minds that China is just on a gold buying spree. Yes, the country of China is, just like the country of India is. But the Central Bank of China is not adding gold, and the Indian Central Bank is not adding gold. In fact, the Indian government's totally against gold. So you have to get a full perspective, not just using words like China and India. Also, we will have an update from someone with Indian roots. We'll talk about silver in India and some very interesting points there that contradict what a lot of people think about Indian demand for silver. So thank you very much for listening. Please subscribe to Smaulgld. That's the most important thing you can do, is right here, fill in your email address and get updated on gold and silver, real estate. Also subscribe to this channel, tell your friends, and follow us on Twitter. Thank you.